Just ask for your help. Please welcome Dwayne Hunn.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
3+ decades ago, I was a Peace Corps volunteer doing urban community development in the slums of Bombay. As an urban community developer, the group would often feel that we weren't getting much community development done. And when those negative feelings would hit me, I'd try and find a little project that I might spend a little time on that might do a little bit of good. That led me to Father Nelson's orphanage and his boys, where they taught me a new meaning to breaking bread and to urban community development by just watching them peel half a banana a day. Father Nelson was the assistant priest at Our Lady's Home Orphanage in Dodder. The senior priest, his boss, as far as I could tell, spent his whole day in his room. I don't know what he's doing, but he spent his whole day there. And Father Nelson was with the boys 24/7. So I asked Father Nelson if he would mind if I did physical training with the boys. Not only did he want me to, but I quickly learned that after physical trainings, he was hoping that I would sit down and sip a glass of wine with him for a half an hour or so and talk about the world. He was worried, since he was always talking with orphan boys, that he was developing an orphan brain. On my last days with Father Nelson and the boys went something like this. The last several weeks I organized some large groups from the orphanage, and I took them on tours. Now the train was less than a half a mile away from the orphanage, but most of the boys had never been on the train. So as the big boys watched the little boys and we kept together, we rode down to Churchgate Station, which is near the middle of Bombay. From Churchgate Station we walked to a place called the Gateway of India, which is an arch that's on the Indian Ocean, and it's across from the Taj Mahal Hotel, the regal, majestic, ritzy Taj Mahal Hotel, which in 2008 terrorists attacked. Well, we spent some time there and I did a first on the boys. I'm sure it was the first ice cream sandwich any of the boys had ever had. What I was more surprised to learn as we hung around a couple old boats that were near the gateway was that this was the first time these kids had seen the Indian Ocean. These kids were aged 8 through 18. Then I figured I'd do another first. So since we had to start going back and the Taj Mahal was right across the street from where we were, I decided to cut through the Taj Mahal ground floor. Now my boys, they were scrubbed up nice. They had their one clean change of shorts and khaki shirt on, and they had their awesome smiles. They were just handsome kids. So we're cutting through, and as we're cutting through, this uniformed Indian worker comes up to me and in kind of a nervous, anxious way says, Sir, you must get the boys out." And I explained to him that we'll only be here a few more minutes, and I think in addition to being anxious and nervous, he was maybe a little embarrassed because any of these kids could have been his boys. So even more anxious and nervous now, I notice another guy comes up. This guy is spiffily dressed, cocksure of himself, comes up and he, in a commanding tone, says to me, "Get the boys out." Now, in my lyric, rhythmic tone that was not very harmonious, I finally said to this guy, as I got a little close to him, not knowing whether there was security around or even patrons watching, I don't remember that, but I said to the guy, "Listen, Barasab, these are the best people you'll have walking through your hotel today or any day. And these kids are walking through." My first days with Father Nelson were a bit different. I came to the orphanage on the first day and they let all the kids out of the classroom. 90 plus it seemed to me, or maybe it was more. But they sure felt like a lot. They came out of the classroom and it was a big area, bigger than this, and it was open on two sides where you could get some air coming in and it had a floor above it, so you had some shade. So the 90 kids come out and they're all excited, and of course being a good drill sergeant and a good coach wanting my team to look good, I stressed to them, line up in straight lines and we're going to do things in cadence. and stay in straight lines and be attentive. And of course, I was an abject failure at all of this. These kids were so rambunctious. And I should have sensed it on my first questions to them, which were something like this. On that very first day, I said, okay, boys, what do you want to do? You want to learn British exercises, which are kind of this and British exercise and British exercise. And I said, do you want to do that? Or do you want to learn American exercises? And these kids are American, they're jumping and they're breaking the line. So I said, oh, wait a minute, boys, wait a minute. Look, American exercises are a lot harder and a lot sweatier than British exercises. So I demoed to them push-ups, jumping jacks, knee bends, squat thrusts, toe touchers. I do the whole number, and it is hilarious because all these kids are trying to impersonate jumping jacks and push-ups and dancing and twirling and yelling and screaming, American, American, American. So I said, okay, we did American, but you know, God, Krishna, Bhagwan, or maybe it was the Pope, had supplied us with this workout area, the same area where they all ate their meals together. And it was paved. And like I said, it was a little bit shady and a little bit of breeze, but he hadn't supplied any exercise machines. So I went through the calisthenics and I got them coached up on calisthenics. And then I said, look, boys, we're going to use each other as our machines. We're going to push and pull on each other. We're going to go stronger that way. And so we did that. And then I moved them to the walls, the immovable walls that surrounded the orphanage. And I said, we're going to push these walls. We're going to press these walls. We're going to curl these walls. We're going to move these walls. And these kids, I guess, believed me. Because every time I would come, they would say, sir, come see how straight are my push-ups. Come see how I move the wall. Come feel my muscle, how bigger it is getting. They would serve me on other days, too. Like when Pope Paul VI came by and delivered about 30% of the orphanage their first beds. Their first beds, and the kids had a, sir, come see my bed. Sir, look at my footlocker. Their first footlocker with their one change of clothes, shorts and a khaki shirt, the same stuff they wore at the Taj. Now you're probably saying, what does footlockers and exercise have to do with breaking bread? Well, I quickly discovered that each morning these boys would have porridge for breakfast along with a sliced half banana. And for dinner they'd have rice with dal, and once a month they added a meat portion to the rice and dal. Some years later, when I was comfortably ensconced back in the States, I got a letter from one of the boys. He described who he was and he said, sir, you probably won't remember me, but I wanted to thank you. This kid was now a member of an Indian Olympic team. Can you guess which team? He was a member of India's Olympic weightlifting team. I tell you, Dirty Harry never had a better May Day than the day after. And those kids taught me, you know, something about breaking bread. And it's something I think more Americans ought to be exposed to. Today the Peace Corps is less than 7,000. It was double that number when I was in. It's been going down since. And if you would tell 100 of your friends and get 100 of your friends to watch the video, and after watching the video, Google American World Service Corps Congressional Proposal. It's a citizens-initiated proposal that would dramatically expand the Peace Corps and put 1 million Americans into voluntary national service, doing things that the Peace Corps, AmeriCorps, Habitat, Doctors Without Borders, and others do-good organizations do. But you probably won't be able to move that wall. Before I sit down, and I think I'm close here, yes, I wanted to tell you one last thing. I went back to the orphanage in 2000, and I took my camera. There was Father Nelson #2 was running the orphanage. And I started taking pictures of these kids. Happy, jumping, handsome, awesome, smiled kids. And I took those pictures home and I stacked them next to mine from decades ago. I swear it's the same faces. Either God or a fifth dimension is playing a number on them. But they were the same kids. They looked the same. And while I was taking the pictures, off in the corner stood a man, a grown man. And when I got done taking the pictures, he came over, put his hand out, and he said, "Sir, you probably don't remember me, but this guy was now the managing director of a much bigger Our Lady's Home Orphanage." So I hope you'll Google American World Service Corps congressional proposal, and thanks for your time.